All right, we are back here on the podcast talking hockey for the first time since September, believe it or not. That's how weird it is with the way the NHL sort of snuck their season in the middle of the NFL playoffs. But join me today, as always, talk hockey in the podcast. Great Pete Consadori is here. Pete, how are you?
There was the NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
I must have missed that.
Well, I mean,
anyway, no, it's great. It's great to be here, Mike. I mean, listen, anytime talking hockey with you, like I say, is always a great time. That Super Bowl though, that halftime, that sucked.
I mean, if you wanted to watch old Ranger highlights at the Super Bowl, you probably would have made a better life choice.
I mean, I don't know. The halftime show, all my friends that like the weekends, like, oh, it was great. I'm like, I don't see the appeal.
Yeah,
it didn't really get me going. It was like, okay.
Yeah, the thing with the weekend is, like, I talked about this with Sam DeRosa last week, our mutual friend on the podcast. We did the halftime show with you. We were like, visually, he especially considering he had COVID restrictions, good job, but audio mixing was awful.
Audio mixing, but like also too, like every Super Bowl, right? And I understand COVID restrictions, but every Super Bowl you've had like other artists in the Super Bowl, not just one. Granted, there were like maybe one or two where like he wasn't on for as long as I thought he would be. And also, too, like, it was weird. This was like, I don't know, maybe Sam touched upon this and you touched upon it. Like, was this the first Super Bowl where the stage wasn't in the middle of the field?
Yeah, we talked about that. How basically we said that because of the COVID, they couldn't put it in the middle of the field. He may use the stage.
Why couldn't they?
I'm assuming it's just like a safety issue where they needed more time to break it down, and they couldn't do that with the.
That's a good theory.
Because if you have less people available to break it down because of social distancing, you can't put it on the field.
You're right. That's actually a good point. Yeah. So yeah. No. Again, I was more concerned about hockey than I was the NFL playoffs. To be honest with you, as a Jet fan, we're always out of it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yep. That's true.
But yeah. So yeah, hockey's back, and we're doing this thing.
We are, and I mean, we got a wildly different look here. Talk about at the top of the show when you saw that what we're doing here with the divisions and sort of the MLB style geography based divisions with division only play, the 4 divisions have all Canada North, all that other stuff. What'd you think?
I'm not opposed to it. I think it's fine. I think you get like more of a Stanley Cup playoff feel in a way because you're facing the same exact team over and over and over again if you're in the geographical setting, in that area. I think it's going to be interesting when the 4 divisions come together for the playoffs, like what the parity would be, what kind of teams are making it this year that wouldn't make it in general in past years just because of the sheer size of the divisions. But I'm not opposed to it. It's something. I'd rather have something than nothing when it comes to the NHL.
Yeah, plus the NHL is thrilled because they're guaranteed to get a team from Canada in the Final Four.
There you go. You're guaranteeing that. I saw a meme that Canada North, the North Division, is the highest scoring division because all the goalies suck.
That sounds about right. It's Carey Price and six other dudes.
It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Look, I want to go back to a regular format. I hope this doesn't influence the rest of the seasons to come. Obviously, COVID influences it, so it depends on how COVID's doing by the 2021-22 season. Be wary, though. Remember that this summer we're supposed to have our expansion draft for the Seattle Kraken.
Yep.
So that's also going to throw some stuff into the mix. So it's going to be a very busy year for hockey.
It certainly will. And they have Olympics of their own coming up next year in 2022 out in China. But we'll stick to this season for now. Let's talk about our Rangers because obviously right now we're recording on Friday night. They're playing in Boston, second game of that series up there. They're in the mix in the East Division, which is the most stacked in the league because you could have arguably 6 different teams could make the playoffs out of it. What do you think about all this youth we have on this team? Because, I mean, we got Keandre Miller on the first pair, Alexis Lafreniere's debut, Kako's second year. So many young guys in this team, right? Let's try and play roles.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Definitely a very young team. A very hard division. Very hard division to be in as a youngster. I can't tell you how many memes and how many things I've seen online about Lafreniere is like underproducing or he's the biggest letdown right now. Like, yeah, he went first overall. But you have to understand, he's not going and playing against a plethora of teams. He's going against literally the top division in the NHL. If you were going to talk about volume-wise and how and the sheer numbers of how many good teams are in the division, the Eastern Conference and the Metropolitan Division have the best teams in the NHL right now in sheer volume. Obviously, you have teams like the Golden Knights, the St. Louis Blues. You have the Toronto Maple Leafs that have been doing pretty well. You have other teams, but like this division has culminated pretty much every powerhouse in the NHL. So how do you expect these young kids to perform? I think they've been doing pretty well. I think the emergence of Keandre Miller is huge for the team. I don't think we can overlook Adam Fox either. Even though this is technically his sophomore year, we cannot overlook how good he is and how well and calm and composed he is on the blue line, the offensive and defensive zone. So, young team, we need to give them a little time, though. We can't jump down their throats right now and go, oh, we expect the best and we're going to win and blah, blah. We need to give them a little bit of time.
Yeah, we definitely do. Plus, they had some turmoil with the whole Tony DeAngelo situation. Now he's out of the locker room. I think they'll bring the group together a little bit. I feel like this group's going to get better. They obviously have questions on the third pair because Jack Johnson is stunk for the most part. Brandon Smith's been hurt, and you got to see if they're going to just ride Potato a little bit to get him eligible for the expansion draft, or they're just going to bring in Libor Hayek eventually. They're going to have questions to fill out in that area.
I mean, I think they have plenty of defensemen that they can fill Smith and Johnson, no problem. I'm going to be honest. I don't know why we have Johnson and Smith still rostered. I'm not saying that they're bad players. Jack Johnson's a bad player. I'll say that. Brendan Smith is not a terrible player. He's good at the penalty kill. He's a good special teams kind of player. But there's so many other options. And I understand that you want to have a veteran presence for the young guys, too. We can't just have Trouba being the veteran defenseman out of all of these young kids, right? DeAngelo was kind of that veteran presence, even though he's a younger guy. He's been in the league for a few years. Now that situation has been handled and he's out of the locker room, I probably see them keeping Smith and Jack Johnson just for the mentorship aspect of it. But Libor Hayek is someone I was really high on last season before the pandemic and the season prior when he was coming up. I mean, I really liked his play, and they haven't played him that much. Lindgren, another defenseman that doesn't come up, I feel like, in normal conversation. You usually hear Fox, Keandre Miller. Lindgren is huge. I mean, he's been doing well. So I think that this young D core is going to be good in the future, just like our offensive core. But we also need to figure out goaltending. We're starting to throw in. I'm sorry if I'm jumping around the rundown a little bit, but we're starting to throw in this 1-2 goalie mix, and we need to just get these goalies the reps. Okay, if you're going to stick with Shesterkin, stick with Shesterkin. That's the end of it. If Georgiev's going to be your backup, he's going to be backup. Don't start this 1-2 crap, and don't give these guys the reps they need to develop now. Then I think this is the perfect time, right? This is the perfect opportunity to develop guys. We're in a weird situation. We are playing the same really hard teams in the division. Let them get the reps now. I don't think any Ranger fan who is conscious of our talents right now are expecting a cup this year. So just give them the reps now. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, unless you're living in alternate reality somewhere, you're not expecting a cup this year. So I think your big thing with this year is, hey, like, let's see the young kids progress. Like, let's see Shesterkin become the top goalkeeper here. Let's see.
Right. Keep him in. Keep him in. Let him lose. Who cares? He's still young. Yes, he is older than Georgiev, by the way, by a couple months. But if he's your goalie of the future, why are you switching him in and out, in and out? Like, you're killing the kid's confidence, and you're also making him think, well, I'm obviously not good enough if they can't keep me in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting with them also because I get why teams are trying to do this because with the uncertainty of like anytime you or your opponent be shut down for COVID for a little bit, like you don't want to have like a goalie going like 3 weeks without starting a game. So I get why they want to keep them loose, but you got to find a little better balance too. I agree with you on that. Yeah,
I mean, there's a difference between putting a goalie in once, every 6-7 games just to get him a rep, just to make sure he's loose, versus it's a game time decision every single week of who's playing in net. It's a 1-2 situation, an A-B situation, just like St. Louis did when they had Elliott and Allen. I mean, it's the same situation.
I wonder if they're overthinking the series approach. Like, sorry, I want to give a different goalie each game of the series.
I mean, it's a possibility, but like again, how is that good for development of players?
Yeah, it's not very good.
Like if you're a player as a defenseman, right? Not even a goalie, as a defenseman, they say, "Oh, you're going to play this game, and the next game, 2 games, you're going to sit, and then that game, you're going to play." And you're not going to stay in the NHL around that team for very long. So why is it okay to apply that to a goaltender?
Yeah, that's true. They do have some issues. We'll see what happens with them. What are the Islanders for a May, too? Because the Islanders, right now, like last year, most successful team in the area, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, lost there. Fourth place in the East Division right now. They would make the playoffs in this weird format we have going on here. So, based on what you've seen so far, what do you think about the Islanders?
I think the Islanders are fine. I mean, I don't know if they're going to go far in this kind of format again because the East Division is so hard. If the Islanders are playing other teams that were like the Buffalo Sabres, Chicago Blackhawks, sometimes can be, looked as not as the elite team they used to be. Detroit Red Wings, Vancouver Canucks. If they were playing teams like that, they may have more points and may be in second place right now. So I can't. It's hard to sit here and say that the Islanders are in trouble, but I can also understand the fact that you have such a strong season the season prior to now being in fourth place steadily. So if I'm an Islander fan, I'm sitting tight. I'm saying, hey, it's just a show of the times and what we're going through. I wouldn't be too worried on the Islanders right now. I think they'll still be a force to reckon with. They're still one of the top teams in the Metropolitan Division. But again, it's also going to depend on if the guys are going to follow Barry Trotz to war, right? I mean, Barry Trotz has been notorious for getting to the second round and kind of choking. He finally breaks that and wins a cup. Who knows? Maybe the year after he gets the cup and he has a little chip on his shoulder that the Capitals didn't want to re-sign him until they saw he got a cup. Maybe he says, you know what, I don't need you guys to do this. And he kind of maybe overcoached or really got rallied the troops around. This year it's like, well, because of COVID and he can't really, maybe he's just not putting the effort in. Who knows?
Yeah, it's also, I think, as you said, it's like, this is one thing where, they definitely had issues with the cap last offseason. They lost some talent. They had to trade Tays away to make cap space. And this feels like a year where they're going to take, one step back, take two steps forward next year. That's sort of the way I feel with them.
Yeah, if you're an Islanders fan, are you really worried about losing Taves? Yeah, yes, he's a good player. You have so much coming up the pipeline. You have Oliver Wahlstrom. Do we forget about Oliver Wahlstrom? He's a left wing that's going to be dominant if he gets developed correctly, right? I mean, they don't have the prospects that the Rangers do. When it comes to the New York teams or the tri-state area teams or even the metropolitan teams, I think the Rangers have the strongest prospect pool. Maybe you can argue in the NHL the strongest in numbers too, prospect pool, because they went so young so hard, right? But you still have prospects as an Islander team. Where you lose a couple guys, that's okay. You have some pretty big names like Noah Dobson, Oliver Wahlstrom coming up the pipeline.
Yeah, I think if you're an Islanders fan, and I know this is me saying as a Ranger fan who has not been as invested as they are this year, I think just on an outside perspective, you get in the playoffs and you win a round. If you lose in the second round, I don't think it's a big deal this year considering how weird the format is. I think if you do that, you can say, okay, we sort of held our ground. And next year, back to the normal schedule, the new building, we should be in better shape.
Yeah, I mean, this almost kind of touches upon last season when we were talking about the Stanley Cup final in general. That it just doesn't even feel like it's a Stanley Cup. If my team won it, I wouldn't even consider it a Stanley Cup win. Yeah. Granted, it's the same kind of format, same number of games that needs to be played. You still got to win those 16 games to get the cup. So I'm not downplaying the Tampa Bay Lightning win, but just because the season was so weird, it's just it doesn't even feel like it's there, and this year's a shortened season, right? Yeah. The first game in a regular season, in a regular 82 season game, doesn't count as much as this does, where it's a 56 game season.
Yep.
If you get hot at the right time, 50 games in, you may win the cup, and there's no, there's no telling it, right? I mean, it's the same thing with the 82 game season, but at least with the 82 game season, you kind of know who the top guys are. Usually the top teams kind of go through unless there's a huge upset, right?
Yeah.
Unless there's a Columbus Blue Jackets sweep, right? That happens in Tampa Bay. So, it's a very interesting time we're living in, as everyone knows. And I think that if the Islanders lose or any team loses this season, we're almost in, we're mid-February right now. We have hockey. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy that we have hockey. If they don't win this year, that's okay.
Yep. I think that's definitely the right attitude to have. And the Devils fans, you're enjoying hockey. Eventually, your teams will get clear out of the COVID mess that you guys are in and be playing more consistently. But if I'm a Devils fan, I'm very happy with what I've seen out of Jack Hughes so far.
Oh, Jack Hughes has definitely redeemed, quote-unquote, himself. I don't like saying redeemed because it's very hard to come in as a rookie. especially at his size, and produce the way that a number one overall has like expectations of. Okay, not every one overall is going to be McDavid, or Crosby, and I think that's the problem when it comes to draft classes. All right, are we yelling at Rasmus Dahlin right now that he's not like this top D man? Like I feel like there's a lot more emphasis on forwards, and it's because of scoring, obviously. But not every number one guy to go in a draft class is going to be McDavid or Crosby, who is literally NHL ready and is going to put up 300 points in their first 4 seasons. You know, like I had no worries about Jack Hughes as a hockey fan. As a Devils fan, I didn't want him to. Excuse me, as a Rangers fan, I didn't want him to do well because he's on the Devils. But as a hockey fan, like I wasn't worried. Like if you go first overall, there's obviously potential. There's obviously something you see there. Do you come across duds? Yeah, you do. Some people just can't play in the NHL like they did in the lower leagues, but it's all about development. And you can see right now, I mean, we were talking before the podcast started, what is it, nine games, he has 8 points?
Yep.
And he's a +2? I mean, what more can you want from, a 19-year-old?
Yeah, sign him up.
I mean, come on. I would take that any day.
Yeah, I would too. And that's something that, like, I want to see in my guys in the future. But we have this crazy East Division here. We have 3 locals in it. The Islanders, we think, are going to get in there. Do you think we get just them? You think maybe the Rangers can sneak in too?
The Rangers could sneak in, but we got to figure something out. I feel like we're a very unorganized team right now, and I don't know if it's because of the whole D'Angelo incident, and I don't know if it's because maybe D'Angelo was disrupting a lot of things this whole season. Now that he's gone, they can get on track. I don't know. I don't know if it's a goaltending issue. I don't know if it's a confidence issue. We did lose Philip Hedl, who was on a tear in the beginning of the season, and now he was just, I believe today it was just announced that he's on the NHL COVID list as well now, on top of the injury that he had. So it's a possibility that they can definitely sneak in. I mean, this is just coming from a purely objective hockey fan, not just a Ranger fan. I'm very realistic. I don't think the Rangers are winning a cup for another 2 years.
Oh yeah, they got work.
I just don't. There's just so many. There's a lot of work to do. There's just so many good teams right now to just expect that they're going to win in the next 2. Hell, it may not even be for the next 5 years. But I know the future is hopeful, and I know we have the names, and if we can put it through, then we have a good system going. I do have to say though, I think after this season, or let's say even next season, if you want to call this season a fluke, I think after next season, if we don't see improvements from our youngsters or even the team, I think David Quinn's name might be on the chopping block. I don't dislike David Quinn. I don't think he's a bad coach, but I think he's had ample time to get his team at least organized and playing correctly. And it just doesn't seem like everyone's on the same page anymore.
Yeah, that's certainly for everyone. We'll definitely have to watch that with Quinn in the next couple of years. And I think also we have these 3 other divisions here. We have the We the North division, which is all Canada. We have the Central Division, where you had the 2 teams in the Cup last year playing in the same division along with a bunch of other teams. You have the West. Which of the other 3 do you like the most?
I don't know. I think because they put a lot of the Atlantic Division in the East. I like the North only because I like seeing the Canadian teams play against each other. I like the West because you have a lot of powerhouses out there too. The Central to me is very blah. I don't know. Even though you have the Cup, you have the Cup
finalists,
Cup champions, and the finalists there. I'm not looking at highlights going, oh, I want to see what's going on in the Central. Like for some reason, and no bias here or not, I'm literally only seeing updates about the East players, the East teams. All the highlights I see is all East stuff. And granted, there's highlights, by McDavid and Matthews and Cizikas, I think it was the other night, did this, and falling to his knees, scored a goal. That's the East. But I see all those kind of highlights, but I don't think I've seen any Minnesota Wild highlights. I don't think I've seen any San Jose Shark highlights. I don't think I've seen any King highlights. These are all teams that were powerhouses in the last 5 years. This is recent stuff. And they completely dropped off the face of the earth. So the NHL has a great way of being a surprise league where teams can just get hot and win. I mean, that's what happened in the 2014 Cup where the LA Kings were a wild card team. I think swept that wild card and then just rode it all the way to the championship, beating the Rangers. So I could be surprised. The San Jose Sharks may win it this year. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's just there's no other teams or divisions that are like exciting me as much as the East is.
Yeah, I think in terms of I'm on the We the North train, and I do like that division. And I also think it would be hilarious to see how Toronto finds a way to choke this year.
Yeah, well, they can't play Boston in the first round. So what's going to be their excuse?
Connor McDavid beats them.
I always see like the memes, like at least this year the Toronto Maple Leafs won't lose against Boston in the first round, right? The Toronto Maple Leafs, I personally think, is the team where you ever watch the movie Miracle?
Yes.
And Herb Brooks is explaining how all-star teams don't work.
Yeah, that's Toronto.
I think that's what's happening with Toronto.
Yeah. You
have all these huge names. You have the whole debacle of Willie Nylander, where he wasn't there for half a season because he had contract disputes. I don't know. I feel like that's like a makeshift all-star team that is just not going to. I don't know. I don't think they're going to make it far. I could be completely wrong. On paper, they should be winning every year. I mean, just based on the names alone. Marner, Matthews, Tavares, and then you have a plethora of other players that play really well behind them. So, yeah, I don't think Toronto wins, but I don't think it's because of the names on the paper. I just think because I don't think that format works.
Yeah, especially in the era of the salary cap. But let's make some picks here for the Stanley Cup final, because obviously it's a little wacky. We have one finals from each of the four divisions. Who do you think wins the Cup, and who do you think they're playing against in the final? What do you think here?
Well, I think Vegas is hungry. I think Vegas has been hungry since that first year that they went. I don't know if they have what it takes, but I'm also kind of trying to base it upon the divisions too. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay got in the final again. Maybe against I don't know, maybe the Boston Bruins again. I just there's no other team that I can definitely say okay, they're going. I mean the Canes, the Hurricanes definitely have momentum and they definitely have the talent too. But I need to see them get past that conference final round, to see if they can get to the Cup before I can. I would say what I would like to see. I would like to see the Vegas Golden Knights win. I would like to see that. I don't think they're going to, but I would like to see the Vegas Golden Knights maybe go up against, I don't know, like an Edmonton Oilers or even a Toronto.
Oh, the NHL would love that.
Yeah, I mean, the NHL messed up big time when it came to these divisions because you could have had McDavid versus Crosby 8 times this year. You know what I'm saying? You could have made really big primetime matchups and say, hey, kids, if you don't like hockey, this is why you should like hockey, and see these big time players go up against each other. They kind of missed a big opportunity, especially with bubbles and stuff like that. They could have made it work. But yeah, a Toronto Vegas would be, I think, if Toronto can get their act together, I feel like that would be a good series.
I think for me, I'm going with Vegas and the Flyers. That's my final pick.
What's funny? I don't even think about the Flyers, and they're really good. That's the one East team I completely forget about. I don't know if it's because I'm a Ranger fan, I despise the Flyers, or if it's just one of those teams that fly under the radar, but they're really freaking good.
Yeah, that's how I feel like. This is I see a format where they get maybe...
Yeah, I honestly, saying that now, I may have to take Toronto out of the mix and put the Flyers in there and agree with you, actually.
Yeah, although for old time's sake, I wouldn't mind if the Blues got in there, had some fun.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Love this.
Must be weird to play that song when there's no fans in the building.
Well, listen, things are starting to open up. I mean, Cuomo just gave the okay to have fans at the Ranger and Knicks games starting late February.
Yeah, they're going to gouge the hell out of you for tickets for those.
I don't think people that don't have season tickets are going to be able to get in. I think they're going to offer to their season ticket holders
first. Yeah.
that it's only 2,000 people, so they're going to get their season ticket holders to get those seats, no problem. And then they're probably not going to open it up to the regular consumer until they can have full capacity or even half capacity.
Yeah.
They have to have some sort of loyalty to the season ticket holders and season ticket package owners. So I feel like the only way you're going to be able to get to it is like a season ticket holder sells you their ticket on like a resale kind of site, or even Ticketmaster's resale. But you're right, it's going to be price gouging. They're going to be like, oh, you haven't been to a hockey game in a year. It's already $300 a ticket to go see the Rangers. So it's going to be $500 now.
Yeah. I mean, I'll
watch it on TV. Like, it's not at the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to Carton and Roberts on WFAN this week, and Evan's a net season ticket holder. He's talking about how he spoke to his representative, and he's like, they're saying that the average average ticket price for he was being heard about was basically $650 for tickets. He only pays $70 a game for.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's sad. I don't know if it's a reflection on New York sports or if it's a reflection on just demand. But it's sad how much money it is to go see a hockey game. And when you go, the stadium's half empty down the lower bowl.
Yeah.
Like if I was Dolan, I would go, look, I understand I want to make as much money as I can. But if you just bring the tickets down a smidge and fill the place, you probably make more money than keeping them high and having half an empty stadium.
Yeah, I'm aware.
In the lower bowl where people can see there's fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, I understand Stanley Cup playoffs, Stanley Cup final. I get it. You want top dollar for it. It's New York. It's MSG. Fine. But Rangers versus the Red Wings on a Tuesday night, make the tickets $50. Who cares?
Yeah.
You're making a ton on concession anyway.
Yeah, I hear.
Make the nosebleeds $50. Make the lower bowl 150 max.
Yeah, I definitely hear all that.
And you'll fill the place. But I'm not a businessman. I'm just a podcast
hockey fan
guest. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of the podcast, we're gonna shift the gears in a minute because we talked, you and I and our friend Nick Frietta, a couple weeks back, we started a Clone Wars rewatch podcast. Last week we actually talked.
Mm-hmm.
We actually spoke on Zoom. We're gonna release the video of that as this podcast drops. Talk about Clone Wars season 1. That's coming up. You'll hear the audio version of that in just a minute. But because there is some breaking news in the Star Wars universe we not get to comment on, I wanted to do it here with you before we go to the video. So I'm going to throw the breaking news up here. That Gina Carano of Mandalorian, known for playing Cara Dune, got fired from the franchise for basically promoting anti-Semitic thoughts on social media posts. Basically saying something to the effect of being a Republican now is equivalent of being something like a Holocaust victim or something like that. And I don't want to go into the exact specifics, but this is something where, you know what, you're Gina Carano, you're not worth that kind of trouble for a franchise like Star Wars.
I mean, even if you are worth that kind of trouble, you don't want that. I mean, I think anything that has to do with any sort of anti-Semitism or racism needs to not be tolerated.
Yeah.
I don't care how big of a name you are. I think that celebrities sometimes can hide behind their fame and just get a slap on the wrist, and I don't think that's correct. So if someone says anything anti-Semitic or racist, I think that there has to be some sort of punishment, and this punishment for her is that they can easily just cut the character. I mean, we were talking about this off the air. Her character's somewhat important right now. It was more important season 1.
Yeah.
But right now in Mandalorian, it's easy where we just don't see her. We can just not see her for a season because it's okay, what the kids, I don't know. I don't think it's a character that you need to worry about reworking.
No.
Granted, even if you had to rework it, you're in a situation where you do need to rework it, because I just think comments like that don't, anything that has to do with that kind of insane just crap. I don't think it should be tolerated ever.
No, it definitely shouldn't be. And I think we knew kind of that they were leaning this direction because back when they had the whole Disney Star Wars reveal party in December, where they talked about the projects they had, they announced Rangers of the New Republic, and they did not tire the project, which At time, okay, that's where Cara
Right.
Duke's going to be. She's the spin-off star of this show, and
Right.
they didn't announce her for it. Unlike Ahsoka, they obviously said Rosario Dawson's coming back, and they announced some other things, but like they didn't tie her to it because I had read online that they were going to, but then she had made some other controversial comments, and they did not. They held off the announcement, basically saying, "Okay, we'll see. She cleans up her act. She doesn't. She's gone. She didn't. She was gone." I think that's basically where we are.
Yeah, I mean, even if she did clean up her act, I think that's just really bad PR to have over your head. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to. I'm definitely not condoning anything. But if she cleans up her act, and I understand about second chances, like I'm not trying to say that people don't make mistakes. They do, but why would you even want that PR nightmare over your show when you have a really famous show that's doing very, very well? You know, it's not like a show that's flying under the radar where like ratings are not going to tank because of it.
Yeah.
Because the ratings are so low anyway. This is a show that is a staple of one of the very first, in my opinion, important live action series that Disney Plus put out. It's probably the first live action series they put out, and I could be completely wrong on that, so don't quote me on that.
No, you're right.
But it's definitely the first. It's definitely the first live action Star Wars show, to my knowledge. So why would you, even if she apologized and she said she made a mistake, why would you even want to keep that?
Yeah, because this is not Pedro Pascal, where like if you take Pedro Pascal out of the Jenga tower, the whole thing collapses. You can pull Gina Carano out and still keep the show going.
True, but even with Pascal, I mean, he's under a helmet all the time. You know, he just doesn't have to take the helmet off ever again.
Yeah, that is.
And you get someone that's close to his voice. I mean,
yeah, that's also true. But I think that's enough on the Gina Carano thing. We're going to take a quick break, and you'll see our faces on Zoom with Nick Friday. We're going to talk about the Clone Wars Season 1 right after our snazzy intro for the segment, right after this.